This is a clip from an earlier live stream. I know you're going to like it, so the link to the full video is down below. Check it out. I'll see you over there.
Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the body language and psychology of the shooting of Renee Good by ICE agent Jonathan Ross. Before we get started with this, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. What we're going to be doing today is analyzing the shooting of Renee Good. What I want you to understand about this video is the goal is to be neutral and as objective as humanly possible. Today, I'm going to talk to you about human behavior. We're going to be talking about trauma. There's a number of things we're going to be exploring, but none of this is meant to be political. Everybody's got strong feelings about that. I really get that. But the goal of this is for you to neutrally and objectively see human behavior as well as I'm able to explain it. I've been an expert witness in a case that had some strong similarities to this, and I really want you to understand the psychology of what is happening for both Renee Good as well as Jonathan Ross in this situation. I do want you to keep in mind before starting this, we are going to watch the video many times. We're going to be watching segments of it over and over again. I'm not going to be showing any of the aftermath. I'm not going to be showing anything bloody or anything like that, but I am going to be showing the video over and over again. So I just want to caution you, this can be pretty distressing. All right, let's just jump right in. If you haven't seen this video before, this is the ICE agent holding up his cell phone and recording. Now, we're going to go back already because there is a lot to cover. Wow. Now, one thing I want you to pay attention to right here is her hands. Watch where her hands are positioned. So as you can see right there, Renee Good is turning her steering wheel to the left. And that's important because that means that she is preparing for action already. At this point, she is preparing to leave. I'll show you how we know that for sure. You can see it, we can barely see it, but her tires are turned to the left right now.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face.
You can see that her backup lights are on. The white light right there, that's the backup light. You can also see that her brake light is on, which means that her foot is on the brake and the car is already in reverse. So there already is a plan to back.
So one of the things I like, I hesitate to use the word like, but one of the things I appreciate from watching these with you all and watching them slow, and this guy, the way he handles it is excellent, is you see things that you didn't see the first time you saw it. I have to admit, I didn't notice the brake lights the very first time I saw it, but I had to watch it again and watch again. Like if you even roll back, you can see the cop in the reflection of the vehicle. You can see him holding up his cell phone. These are just little things that I didn't notice. I did not notice the wheels turning to the left. So I think the more we watch these things, the more things kind of expand out. The first time you see it, you just see it for what it is. And then the second, third, fifth, 10th time you watch it, you just see more stuff about it that you didn't notice before. So I just think this is always useful. I can only imagine like how many times investigators have to watch stuff. I could only imagine how many times they watch it, and they probably watch it at a slower speed than even we do. So let's keep it going. Let's go.
Up and get out of there. At this point, I think we're already seeing that she is expecting to escape, that she's planning on leaving the situation. We're going to go back and I'm going to show you more about the body language that I think is very significant. Now watch her eyes. She tracks the ICE agent entirely. She does not take her eyes off of him the whole time that he's passing by. She's extremely engaged with him. She's leaning forward. Her body's open. At this point, she's probably got a lot of adrenaline coursing through her veins, but she does not come across that she is as activated as I think she feels right now. She's already planning to flee this situation, but at this point she seems very calm. So I think that the ICE agent was anticipating that it would be a calmer confrontation than it ultimately is. You can also hear the high register in her voice. We typically associate that with compliance. That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. So there are a lot of signs right now that the ICE agent is likely believing that she is not going to be a problem for him as they continue with this.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. It's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later.
Now, Renee Good's wife's behavior is very different. She's far more physically confrontational. She's standing close to the ICE agent, which is not violent. It's a more hostile way to approach somebody, but it's not a violent act. But I'm sure it feels more confrontational than Renee Good does. So at this point, the ICE agent is likely thinking that Renee Good's wife is going to be the more challenging of the two. His attention is going to be drawn towards her.
change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's
And you can hear she's more verbally confrontational as well.
fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us?
And as you can see right here,
I
her
used to
tire
tire.
is turned to the left because she is planning on backing up. Because if you're going to back up and get out of there, that's the way that you're going to turn your tire.
You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
So you can hear her once again being more verbally confrontational. I said, go get yourself some lunch, big boy. At this point, the ICE agent's attention is once again going to be focused on Renee Good's wife, not Renee Good herself, because she seemed calm. So the expectation will be that this situation will not turn out the way that it does. At least that's what I believe the ICE agent was likely thinking at this point.
You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out the car.
Then you can see the other ICE agent.
Yeah, no.
He's being more confrontational, walking towards Renee Good right now.
Get out of the
So as this agent is walking towards the other one, seeing that there is going to be a confrontation, so he's going to go along to help. Now you see what's an incredibly significant part of this as well, which is that Renee Good's wife is trying to get in the car, but the door is locked. But there's no acknowledgement from Renee Good that's happening. This is significant. We're going to get into why.
Lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out the car. Get out of the
So at this point, Renee Good's wife was pulling on the door handle, and Renee Good does not seem to acknowledge that. She was reversing while her hand was literally in the door handle, which puts her wife in some kind of physical danger. She's not in danger of getting run over, but I would assume that if she knew that was
And of course, Dr. Greg is miscategorizing the woman that's trying to get into the passenger seat. That's not her wife. That is somebody, but it's not her wife. Just want to make sure. I'm not going to correct him every time he miscategorizes her, but I just want to make sure I said that.
happening, she likely would not have reversed as aggressively at that point.
Go ahead.
Out the car. Get out of the Get out of
This shows how little awareness Renee Good may have had about what's going on around her at that time, that the adrenaline was so high, that she was so amped up at this point that she didn't even notice that her wife was trying to get in the car and that she was reversing while her wife's hand was pulling on the door.
Go ahead.
Out the car. Get out of the Get out of the
So she's in a flight state right now. Her wife is yelling, "Drive, baby, drive." There's someone off in the distance yelling as well. All of this is going to add to the intensity and the feeling of fight or flight. We're going to keep going, and then I'm going to explain fight or flight more thoroughly so you can better understand why that matters so much for both Jonathan Ross as well as Renee Good. So I want you to pay close attention to Renee Good's hands because the timing of all of this is extremely important.
Get out of
So she looked backward. She started reversing.
Yeah, she's turning her
As
hand.
soon as she put her car out of reverse, as soon as she started moving forward, then she started turning her steering wheel. What's happening right now, clearly she's trying to get out of there. She's in flight mode, but her tires are just going to be aiming directly ahead temporarily because she has not fully turned them to the right. So she starts accelerating before she has fully turned to the right. Watch this. So briefly, the car goes forward. We're going to look at this from a different angle so you can actually see that. But briefly, the car moves forward before moving right. Her tires were not fully turned right at this point. So from the officer's perspective, the car was going directly at him. Now, this was all incredibly, incredibly brief. Now, to understand the situation, you have to understand fight or flight. Fight or flight is about threat detection. It's about trying to survive. So when you identify a threat, your body gives you a surge of adrenaline. It's meant to help you survive. Now, the first thing you're going to do is freeze, typically. And after that freeze, then we're going to try to escape. And if you can't escape, you fight. Now, sometimes people skip directly to fight, depending on how much experience they have in certain situations. But typically, it's freeze, flight, and fight. Now, in this situation, Renee Good is constantly in flight mode. She is ready to leave. She was already in reverse by the time the ICE agent even came up to her window. So she's been in flight for a minute. Now, the ICE agent, as I said, his threat detection was not towards Renee Good. It was actually towards her wife. Watch this right here.
Out the car.
He's focused on her right now. He's actually focused on the way that they're interacting until the other ICE agent walks up to Renee Good. That's what diverts his attention. But his attention was focused on her because I think he identified her as being a bigger problem, so to speak. If this ICE agent had identified Renee Good as a problem, he already would have told her to get out of the car likely. Maybe he was waiting for backup to do that, but I expect that if he thought that she was going to do this, he immediately would have asked her to get out of the car when he walked by in the first place.
Get out of the car.
There's a couple of things I want you to pay attention to. One is that he did not drop his phone, which is extremely surprising considering the fact that he literally just drew his gun and shot somebody, and the whole time held on to his cell phone with his left hand. That speaks to how quickly all of this happened. That also speaks to that fight or flight that I was talking about. You don't have time to think about what you're doing. Your body goes into an automatic mode. So at this point, when he drew his gun and fired, this was not something that had any amount of real thought behind it. Now, whether or not this violated protocol, whether or not this was the appropriate time to do that, that's up for other people to decide. I'm just talking about what he would have been experiencing at the time.
Get out of the car.
Somebody said there was a dog in the back seat. I don't think I see that, but I don't know. We're gonna watch it a couple more times, so we'll see.
Now, something we're going to see from a different angle is that he discharged his weapon with another ICE agent very close by. And to me, that speaks to, once again, the fact that he's in this fight or flight mode. Now, why is it that he would get so strongly in fight or flight so quickly? On June 17th of 2025, Jonathan Ross was attempting to arrest somebody. At that time, when he reached in their car, they drove forward and ended up dragging him several hundred feet. When something like that happens, that gets encoded in what's called your amygdala. You don't really need to remember the name of it, but there's part of the brain that handles fear and memory.
Wow.
So when you've got memories that remind you of things to be afraid of, it activates it, and it can activate that fight or flight system very, very quickly. But the significance here is that this is now going to be part of his fight or flight system. Like I talked about, the amygdala connects fear and memory. Well, in a situation like this, the idea that you can get dragged by a car, the idea that a car is extremely deadly, while we all already know that, becomes much more real when you've experienced something like this. So the speed at which he reacted may have also been related to his own history. Now, I talked about Jonathan Ross's history. I don't know anything about Renee Good's history. There could be a history there as well that could factor into some of her own fight or flight right now. But one thing that's also important to keep in mind about what she's experiencing right now is that she's never been in a situation like this, I assume. Now, I don't know enough about her history to say that definitively, but I would guess that this is the first time she's ever had a confrontation this intense with law enforcement. As you can see,
and the last time,
she's trying to escape a situation that has now escalated to something else. And when you've never experienced something like this before, when you've never done something like this before, the feelings that come with it are going to be terrifying. There's going to be adrenaline surging in a way that she's likely never experienced. Like I said, she seemed to drown out the fact that her wife was even next to her.
Okay, and maybe this is appropriate that we've been watching all these body cam footage, because I think I see a lot of people saying, you know, that these people are lawless and you were ordered to get out of the car and other things of that nature. And that's true. You didn't have to be there. That's the part I don't think people are factoring in. What they were doing was boxing in, using their cars to box in ICE agents so they can't leave. I mean, you could put yourself in a you didn't have to be there. So this is not just like, oh, I was walking out to my mailbox and ICE agents surrounded me and I'd had to run them over with my car. No, you deliberately put yourself in this position. I even saw people last night at protests with their infant children. They have their infant children with them at protests. It's cold 30 out there. And these people got their infant children because they know the ICE agents won't use tear gas because they got infants out there. These people know, see, you're creating these problems that don't need to happen. This is insane. So this is some high level delusion that we're watching right here. So, you know, this is just wild. Anyway, let's keep it dancing. Thank y'all to everybody who's jumped in. We're just watching Dr. G talk about the Renee Good shooting.
She may have heard her, but may have been dissociated to an extent to where she really wasn't taking in a lot of the stimuli around her. Now we're going to look at this from a different angle so we can talk a little bit more about what happened. Now, most people have already seen this clip, but we're going to go over a couple of very important points that I think will help you better understand what happened. Now, I want you to first pay attention to her tires, the front left tire. Now, if you watch closely, you can see her tire is pointed to the left right here.
To the left, right. Right.
So as she reverses, her tires are still pointed to the left. As you saw in the other video, she starts turning her steering wheel to the right very quickly. However, all that does is straighten the tires very briefly before she's ever able to actually turn right. So watch this right here.
He's going straight. Yep.
So as you can see, the tires spun. They're starting to drive straight very, very briefly before she ultimately turns right. Although, like I said before, the goal, I think, was to escape the situation. I think she was trying to back up and get out. I do not think she was trying to drive straight ahead. Now, as you can see, this ICE agent is trying to open her door. As I talked about before, her wife is actually on the other side of the car at this exact time. Now, I want you to also pay attention, because I think there's another very important aspect to this. I want you to pay attention to Jonathan Ross when he walks into frame.
No!
He's right
so
there.
She just stopped reversing. He's just
Right
now
there.
walking ahead.
No!
So he's now appeared in frame.
He's got
As
his gun.
soon as she starts accelerating, I'm talking about within one frame, he's already drawn his gun.
Yeah.
Now, this right here is extremely treacherous. He is discharging his weapon with another ICE agent's head 18 inches from Renee Good right now. This would be an unusual thing for a law enforcement officer to do, which to me speaks to how automatic and how quickly he behaved in this situation. Now, that does not mean he made the right decision. That's a different discussion. I'm not getting into all of that. I'm just trying to explain the human behavior we're seeing right now. But at this point, for him to discharge his weapon with another person, much less another ICE agent, this closely next to his weapon, when he easily could have slid on the ice, he could have moved, he very easily could have shot somebody else. To me, that speaks to the automatic nature of what he did. So as you can see, he walks into frame. He's already starting to grab for his gun. The second the car starts to accelerate, the second he hears the car accelerating towards him or sees the car accelerating towards him, he's already got his hand on his gun. Within a frame, his gun is already starting to get pointed forward. And then he's already ready to discharge his weapon within another frame. All of this happened so quickly. So based on everything we're seeing here and based on how quickly he reacted, I do believe that he thought that his life was in danger. I do believe he reacted very quickly, believing that he was in imminent danger. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Hopefully this is helping you better understand some of the behavior, body language, and psychology of the situation. Now, unfortunately, I think a lot of this boiled down to misunderstandings. I think that Jonathan Ross initially perceived Renee Good as someone who would likely be compliant, maybe be a little bit combative and argumentative or something like that, but he didn't see her as someone that was going to try to escape the situation. I think Renee Good was planning on leaving that situation the whole time. I don't think she had the intent to run somebody over. But in this situation, his expectation that she was ultimately going to comply, when that was defied, he behaved so quickly, right, wrong, or otherwise. I think he perceived his life to be in danger, and that's what ultimately led to the fatal shooting. I do want you to keep in mind, as I talk about this, none of this is a moral or a political judgment on any of this. My goal is just to provide you an understanding of the human behavior and why the decisions were made, what the perceptions were of people that were involved, and how you would expect them to see these situations and to understand why things played out the way they did.
Okay, so that was Dr. G, and I will make sure let me grab it real quick, and I'll put that down in the description. I know you liked that episode. This is actually a clip from a larger live stream. The link is down in the description, so you can go check it out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you down there. Grace and peace.